Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is yours truly, 50 Only, and I will be reviewing The House of Payne, Season 9, Episode 21, entitled The Big Game. So this show starts off with CJ and Malik. They're sitting on the couch at CJ's house, their home, and they're watching this football game, and they're really into it. They're really excited, and then behind them, Lisa, who they don't know, is coming down the steps, comes down, and she takes the remote and she changes the channel without them knowing, because the remote is behind them, and they're like, what's going on? What happened? So she comes around to the front of the couch where they can see her, and basically she's like, oh, my show's coming on, and she sits in the middle of them, and so then Malik tries to explain to her about the game. She tells him to go to another room. CJ tells her that's the only TV they have. So apparently this is the finale of one of Lisa's favorite shows, and this is a huge football game that Malik and CJ really want to see. So CJ tells Malik to come in the kitchen. He convinces him, and then he starts telling Malik to get Lisa straight. He's like, you need to deal with her, and then, they're like, well, okay. He's like, I'm going to deal with her, and then he's like, so then they decide to watch this game on Malik's small phone, and so they're sitting there watching it, and then Lisa comes in the kitchen to get something to eat and asks if she did something wrong, and she says she just wants to find out who gets a rose, and says it's just, she makes it minimizes the fact that this is just a game. It's not a big deal. It's a football game, because that's not something she's into. So Malik takes the remote and threatens to change it, and then Lisa starts patting her head, acting crazy, looking at Malik with this crazy stare. And CJ told him to look at her, take a look at her, see what she's doing. Malik still's like, no, I'm gonna handle this. I'm gonna change this channel. So Malik gives the remote back to Lisa after he turns around and looks at her, and then Lisa starts complaining of being pregnant and how they don't understand, which is true. I will just put my little two-piece in there. It is very, very difficult to understand something that you will never experience, and being a female, being pregnant is something that a man will never really know how it really feels. So I have to agree with her on that. So then Lisa goes back and watches her show, and CJ and Malik stay in the kitchen and watch the game on his phone. So then all of a sudden Miranda comes in again. It's so funny because every time Miranda shows up, it's about an ongoing thing. She never knocks. She just came right in, and she had Christian with her. And just a little side note, that little boy that they chose to play Christian is the cutest little thing, and he looks like he could really be their son, I'm sorry, because he looks a lot like Calvin to me. He's really cute. So Miranda comes in with Christian, and she's looking for Janine. She said that Janine agreed to watch Christian while she proceeds to go on to tell CJ and Malik that she has a lunch date, and they're like, okay, whatever. And then she also says, and then after that, she's hanging out with Aunt Ella, and they're going to collect clothes for the clothing drive. So they're like, okay. So she leaves and goes upstairs. And then CJ and Malik talk about, why she tell us that? We didn't really need to know that. But basically they figured out, well, she wants Calvin to know. She wants us to tell Calvin what she says so he can be jealous. So then after that, CJ tells Malik to handle Lisa after the show. So Lisa comes in the kitchen to get something sweet, because she's apparently there's the part of the show that she's really into. I guess it's the part where they decide whatever the decision, whoever gets the rose. So she's really excited, and she comes running in the kitchen. I think it was probably a commercial game on, so she runs in the kitchen. She's like, oh, I gotta get something sweet. The funny thing about that, and this is just, I love the small things that we can relate to as people. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know if she improvised that or if that was in the script. But when she came in the kitchen and she said she had to get something sweet, how many times are you watching one of your favorite shows and all of a sudden, like, you're really into it and then you have this taste for something sweet? I have done that so many times. As a matter of fact, just last night I was watching the show and I was like, oh, I want something sweet. So it was just funny that she brought that out. It's the little things, y'all. It's the little things. So then she's sitting there and she's, she getting her cookies and she asked Malik why he was so quiet. And Malik starts talking and, he's trying to explain to her about the whole changing the channel thing. And she stops him real quick. She interrupts him because her show is coming back on and she runs back in the living room. So then Malik decides he wants to go in there and talk to her about this whole situation. And CJ tells him, look, you need to wait. So then CJ has this really smart, deep conversation with Malik about compromise. And he's telling him that, when you share your life with somebody and you're sharing your home with someone, you have to compromise. I mean, that's something that you have to understand. And in this situation, you're going to have to give and take, give way to some things that you may not like, pretty much. And he also talked to him about pregnant women and hormones, which I thought was really good and very interesting that CJ was discussing that with him. He was just talking about how these hormones is a real thing. And one of the things that Malik was saying, well, Lisa's not like that, and CJ was like, well, I know some women are different, but the reality of it is that hormone thing is a real thing, and all women deal with hormonal changes. I don't care who you are. So I thought that was really, really good, very smart of CJ to discuss that with him. So then CJ also tells him, you got to be understanding. You're going to have to be sympathetic and you're going to really have to give way to some things. So Malik, still being stubborn, is really he's head bent on going to really kind of give Lisa a piece of his mind and tell her what he thinks about the whole situation. So CJ tried to warn him. He was like, look, I don't think that's a good idea, because of the state that she's in. I don't really think you need to do that, but go ahead. Since you think you got this, go ahead and do it. So Malik goes over and he's getting ready to start talking to her, and she's kind of wimpy about the show, crying. She's all emotional because the girl didn't get chosen that she won. I think her name was Brittany. She kept saying, Brittany better get that rose, but she didn't get chosen. So Malik was like, oh, and then he was like making these little snide comments. So then she was like, you've been doing that all night, like all evening, like making these snide comments about me changing the channel. What's going on? So then Malik starts talking at her, and that right there was the problem. Like, he started like laying down the law, as you say, telling her what she wasn't going to do. And so then Lisa, she was like, okay, fine. And she stormed upstairs and, and he thought everything was fine because she went upstairs. And CJ was like, you really think that's over? Okay. So then she came back down. She had her bags packed and she told Malik that she was leaving and that they were over, and she left. So then Malik was like going after her, trying to get her, he was calling her. And then when he came back in, then all of a sudden, nothing else mattered. All he wanted was her back. He didn't care about the channel. He didn't care about the game. He didn't care about anything. He just wanted Lisa back. So, they were like calling her name, and that was pretty much the end of the episode. But one thing I want to say is with Malik, when he was talking at Lisa, one thing that I learned is that authority is recognized. It's never enforced. So like when you're in a position of authority, and when I say that, I'm not saying that Malik has to lord over her or anything like that. But what I'm saying is when you're in a position where you're speaking to somebody and you're trying to get something across, or you want to, kind of sort of set some boundaries, your authority in that moment should be recognized and not enforced. So that means that because what I saw, he was talking at her. He wasn't really talking to her. And so he was sort of like telling her what she was going to do. And there was no, there was no empathy in it. He just basically was concerned about what he wanted, and he wasn't thinking about her. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was how I liked how Tyler used CJ's character to represent how a man respects, and in this case, Black women. So all through the House of Payne, all the episodes from the first one all the way up to now, even the old ones, CJ's character has always been one that respected women, respected the women in his life. He's always had great respect for Aunt Ella. He's never disrespected her. He's always respected Janine, even when she was in a position where she couldn't really do the same for him. When she was on drugs, no matter when, he wouldn't even allow other people to disrespect her. And so I like that CJ is talking about that, like in the show, that it really shows his respect for his wife and any woman for that matter, and particularly Black women. And I want to talk about that because a lot of times Black women are often disrespected. And one thing that I also thought about was how, we are seen as strong, and that's a good thing. Like, we always talk about as Black women how we're strong Black women, and I think that even the world will say Black women are strong. And I personally think that it is a beautiful thing that we have accomplished so much, even in the past and even now. Like, there's plenty of us that are achieving whatever your lane is, whether you're a doctor, whether you're creative, whatever it is that you do as a Black woman, we are all achieving and we're all doing well. But to say that you're a strong Black woman sometimes can be to our detriment, in the sense that that is the narrative that is put out there only about us, and it could kind of like cripple us in a way, because other women of other races, they get to be vulnerable, they get to be coddled, they get to be loved on. And for some reason, us as Black women, we are always expected to be, on the front line, or we're always expected to stand up and take the heat or take the hit for someone else, when in actuality we deserve the same thing as other women. We deserve to be vulnerable. We deserve to be coddled. We deserve to be loved on. Not always, expected to do everything for everyone else. And I think we kind of did that to ourselves because we wanted people to hear us and know, okay, since you don't recognize this, we're gonna be strong. We're gonna do what we have to do. And a lot of times in our households, that's what we do. Black women, we do what we gotta do. We kind of do what it is that we have to do. I mean, like, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say, but we always come through. Even when we're tired, we don't feel like it. We do what it is that we need to do. And I think that sometimes we forget that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to let somebody hold the door open for you. It's okay to allow somebody to treat you to something, or to, hold you when you feel, sad or lonely or vulnerable. You get to do that. We oftentimes, I don't think we really give ourselves that, or we maybe have forgotten that we deserve that too. So I just think it's interesting. I like that CJ, the character of CJ, has really shown or displayed the love and respect for a black woman in this series, because he's never not done that. And so I applaud Tyler for that. So that's pretty much it for the episode. I thought it was wonderful. I love Lisa. I think Lisa brings like a freshness to the show. She brings like a brightness and a youthfulness to the show that I think it's just fresh, and I think it's great. I hope they keep her on the show. I have a hunch that they will, because she's pregnant and it is Malik's baby. So I can't see them just kind of letting her go off the show. So let me know what you guys think. I enjoyed the episode as always. I'm looking forward to the next one. And so this is yours truly, 50 Only, signing off. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.